Hey there, good to see you. In this video, I'm going to provide a practical demonstration of how to use my Canon C-Log2 Rec.709 exposure correction LUTs. I made a general introductory video about these LUTs a few months ago, and if you're interested to check that out, I'll link to it up above and down below in the description as well. But this video you're looking at is a more practical, hands-on demonstration using some footage that I recently shot from a trip to Iceland, and we're gonna jump over here into Premiere. We're gonna take a look at all the footage, and I'm gonna show you how I use these LUTs, because I use them in my own workflow. I use them for the video that I shoot in order to make it faster, better, and easier. So without further ado, let's jump over there and start editing. All right, so here we are in Adobe Premiere Pro, and down here in my sequence, I have a variety of videos here that were all shot during a recent landscape photography trip of mine to Iceland. Everything here was captured at the same location using the same camera, a Canon EOS R6, recording in 4K internally using C-Log3 Cinema Gamut. All right, so I'm going to begin color grading this project here by doing what I assume you are currently doing, and this is also what I used to do as well before I developed these Rec.709 exposure correction LUTs, and that is apply Canon's standard C-Log3 to Rec.709 LUT. So I'm going to come up here and select that. This is Cinema Gamut C-Log3 to BT709. This is a free LUT, and these other LUTs are free too. You can download these directly from Canon for the R5 and the R6 and a variety of other cameras too, of course. And I'm going to apply that. And then I'm just going to step through here and apply the same LUT to all of the footage so we can take a look at everything together. Okay, so all of my footage has now been transformed from C-Log3 Cinema Gamut into the standard Rec.709 color space using Canon's official LUT. Now you can tell just by scrolling through here and taking a look at everything that nothing matches. The brightness and the contrast values are kind of all over the place, especially this video down here at the end, which unfortunately I just pushed too much. I think the sun came out, it got brighter, and I forgot to darken the density of my variable ND. And as a result, everything is living up here at the top of the waveform, and I definitely have some clipped pixels up here at the top, unfortunately as well with this video. As for the other videos, this one is overexposed as well, though not quite as bad. Overexposed still. This one is pretty good. You can see a lot is living here at the midtones, so I could probably use that as is. This one here, definitely overexposed, and this one is also overexposed, though not quite as much as this one. Now, I do want to just quickly point out that sometimes overexposing footage is accidental, which is the case with this one down here. But sometimes overexposing footage is also intentional, because like a lot of people, I like to push the exposure of C-Log3 a little bit. Typically by about half a stop to a full stop in order to get better color, better luminosity, better looking skin tones. I think it just looks better, just pushed a little bit more. But obviously you don't want to push it to the point of something like this happening. But this is the challenge of color grading footage like this later and just using Canon's standard LUT, is because now I would have to go through and adjust the exposure, the whites, the blacks, the shadows, the tone curve, and everything to try and get all of this looking the same, which is slow, which is time consuming, and a total pain. So this is the reason why I developed these exposure correction LUTs. So let me just drag, I'm gonna move these over here so we have a reference, and then I'm gonna select all these. I'm gonna remove the LUTs. We're gonna remove Canon's official LUT, and now we are going to use my exposure correction LUTs instead. All right, so what I typically do with a project like this is first apply Canon's official C-Log3 Cinema Gamut to Rec.709, just the native LUT, just the standard LUT. This is the exact same that I applied just a second ago. And I include this LUT with the exposure correction LUTs just for convenience, because it's easier and faster just to have everything together. And if we take a look at the footage here, we can see, just like we did before, that the footage is clearly overexposed, and we need to fix that. So what I would do is come up here, and instead of using the native LUT, I would now use C-Log3 Cinema Gamut to Rec.709 -1 stop. And this is one of the custom Rec.709 conversion LUTs included with this collection. And as you can see, it brought all of my exposure values down. It did a good job of retaining the highlights up here at the top, which is something that C-Log 3, by the way, is really good at. It's better than C-Log with highlight detail retention, in case you don't know. And it successfully brought everything down and got it into a pretty good place. So now I can move on. I can move on to the next one here. This one, I'm gonna do, I remember this being a little hotter than the first, so I'm gonna do -1 1/3 stop, and then compare that to the first clip. Yep, they look much more similar. Move on to the third. This one I remember being pretty much spot on, so I'm just gonna use the native one on that. Compare it to the second, compare it to the first, and yeah, definitely looking better. Let me do number 4 here. This I think was, what was this? This was like probably about a stop over. Let me try 1 stop under. And yeah, that's definitely looking better. Now, one of the things that I'm looking at here, you see the ground here? You know, I'm looking at the ground as kind of like a visual reference to know whether something needs further adjustment or not. And I think so far, it's looking pretty good. Everything is looking much more similar. And let's move on to this one here. This was also, I think, maybe a stop, maybe 1 1/3 stop. I'll do 1 1/3 compared to this one. Yep, looking better. And now this one down here at the end, this is the problem. I'm gonna do -1 2/3 stops and see where we get. And as you can see, the LUT did a really good job, I think, of retaining and bringing down the midtones and the shadows and the blacks and getting everything, you know, the subject, which is me, obviously, and all of that looking good. Not much, unfortunately, we can do about the sky up here. That is the thick band that you see up here at the top of the waveform. Those pixels are unfortunately clipped, but at least their white point, at least their value is similar to everything else that you see. Because if we scroll back through here and take a look, you can see just now how much more harmonious everything looks. And it all looks like it was shot using the exact same exposure values. I mean, it just looks a lot better. Compared to, if we go back and look at the Canon's, just, you know, throwing Canon's standard Rec.709 LUT on footage, I mean, it's a world of difference. And I was able to do this just in a few seconds. You know, it really took no time at all. And this is typically what I do. You know, anytime I have a bunch of footage, is just go through and, you know, raise exposure, lower exposure, and just get everything tonally, you know, balanced, everything looking about the same, so that then I can use this as a baseline to be doing any further color correction, any further, you know, color grading, any kind of creative color grading that I want to do. I now have a baseline that I can start working from. All right, I hope this video was helpful and answered any questions you may have. If not, feel free to reach out to me directly. You can reach me at this email address down below, domini@gmail.com. And you can also DM me over at Instagram as well. Feel free to send me a message there too. Happy to answer any questions you may have. Thanks for watching.